this era. We have Central Council members here, Anil Bhandari, and WIRC. The panel, we have a panel discussion on insolvency and bankruptcy code, which is moderated by President CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal ji. I can say the first president of ICI Tower, because under his presidentship we have inaugurated ICI Tower at BKC, what I recollect. We have with us Shri Setty, who is the managing director of State Bank of India, the largest bank, and he has vast experience on this insolvency. Again, we have Rajesh Sharma is a chartered accountant and NCLT member, and Divya Setty madam, who is a lawyer, legal counsel, and this practicing in this area. So friends, I am overwhelmed to how conduct session, and I request
माइक तो दिख रहा है मेरे को
to introduce the panel. On behalf of WIRC and all the participants, I welcome to this panel on this in the regional conference. Vikas is there?
Madam,
Manish bhai, Vikas is there?
Thank you, Preeti Madam. Now I request, since our Central Council member and chairman of IBC committee is here, and I request CA Anil Bhandari sir to give his remark.
Vikas is there? Let me.
मैडम आपका आवाज कट हो रहा है. Manish bhai, may I request you to please invite Anil Bhandari sir for his opening address.
So Vikas ji, are you there? I request now Vikas Jain to kindly introduce today's speaker.
मनीष सर, विकास सर का नेटवर्क का इशू है, आपको इनका भेज दिया रीजन से.
Okay. So we have, as Preeti Madam has told us, that we have heavyweight panelists. I will start with the introduction of our past president, beloved Subodh Agrawal ji. He is a practicing chartered accountant and insolvency professional from Kolkata. And he, as I said, he is a past president of our institute, and he was president in the year 2013. He has served as various national committee of RBI, SEBI, MCA, CAG, NACAS, Quality Review Board, constituted Chartered Accountants Act, and also served as Board of Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. So he is also stood 10th rank in CA final exams. So I will not go into much detail of his profile, because his profile is so big that I will not able to complete that. But really, he has a very good achievements to his credit. Now I move to another panelist, that is Rajesh Sharma ji. who is a honorable member, honorable technical member of NCLT, and regularly available for our institute. He is by qualification, he is a chartered accountant also, and various case laws are there to his credit. Another panelist what we have on our panel is we have Setty sir, who is managing director of SBI. I also have some technical problems.
May I request Anil Bhandari sir, so that we come back.
Anil Bhandari sir, we first request him to have his view, then we will go for introduction of the faculties.
Thank you, Arpit, and thank you, Manish. I hope I am audible and hopefully my internet is clear.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Congratulations on hosting your 35th regional conference. Difficult times, but I think overall during the last 1 year, the entire team has been able to hold all the programs very well together. And I think as you're coming towards the last overs, I think a fantastic job done. Arpit, I hope I am okay in the lovely. Thank you. So I think just to summarize, I think towards the slog overs, as they may call it, a fantastic job done, and congratulations to all of you. I do have with us our past president, CA Subodh Agrawal ji. So welcome, sir. Subodh ji is one of the leading lights in the insolvency practice, and we know that we have lots to hear from him today. And similarly, I welcome all our panelists, eminent panelists here today. Shri Setty ji, Rajesh Sharma ji, I think Snail Kamdar, VK Pandey ji, and even Divya. So welcome to all our panelists today. I have a strong belief that all of you here on the panel would have contributed to this evolving law in some form or the other. And I think this is one of the most transformational laws that we have seen in the last several years in this country, which I'm hoping would formally evaluate us and elevate us in ease of doing business going forward, because this was one of the most tricky subjects typically that the bankers carried on their shoulders to be able to continue to do business and continue to land in an environment that we sit in a developing country. I'm happy that almost 1.98 lakh crores or some value to that number here and there have been kind of resolved during the course of time after this law has evolved. And I'm also amazed that almost 6,000 IPs are already there in practicing this law across the country. Can you imagine the size and the numbers? And especially, I'm again amazed that majority of them are chartered accountants. So I think our community has really picked up, professionals that we are, we have really picked up this practice all across the country. And I think we are doing significant inroads into evolving this law, at the same time helping organizations and banks to come out of the situation. As I'm also the chairman of the IBC committee at the Central Council, I'm happy to let you know that we ran several case studies throughout the year. Some of the largest ones, like the ones of SR, has given us a lot of insights into the practical aspects of during the insolvency process. And one of the things that I probably learned was, how do you preserve the value of the organization which is undergoing an insolvency process, because it doesn't take too much time for the value to be eroded during these times. And that, I believe, is one of the most important aspects for any banker today, because if the value gets eroded, I think money which is available on the table will always get eroded very, very quickly. And of course, while we are doing this process, there are tricky aspects. There are ways and means to come out of these tricky aspects. At the same time, try and work as a CEO of an organization. So I think it must be very engaging for IPs that we have here today. We had a forensic session just before this, and I think forensic also becomes a very integral part of the entire IBC process, which I believe, again, opportunity is provided to all the professionals that we have here today. I'm delighted to bring out 2 or 3 things which could become interesting in a very near future. I think the government is working on a paper for pre-packs. I believe the pre-packs would become a way to kill the chain and the time taken for the insolvency process, and that would probably become a little more efficient in handling large and smaller insolvency cases going forward. So this is an area which I think all of us should be glued on and try and understand what are the nuances which are likely to come in the pre-packs. Similarly, there are interesting topics around cross-border IBCs, insolvency, which is also likely to happen and come across. And I'm sure the panel today would be debating and also expressing their views on all of these areas, which will help us to kind of evolve a better law and a better process. I think just to kind of summarize this for chartered accountants, especially, I know a lot of us are already involved in the practice, but I think after the COVID situation, which is hopefully likely to be over soon, and I wish that all of us continue to be safe. I think insolvency is one practice area which will provide great opportunities to chartered accountants, and I think this session that we have would be very, very interesting from that perspective. I think somebody has said that very highly successful people in India, especially highly successful people go to jail, and highly unsuccessful people also go to jail. So I think I was in one of the conferences where one of the entrepreneurs said this, and I think there are times coming in now where, in spite of the fact that you are hopefully or unfortunately not very successful, you really don't go to jail, but you have this process. If everything goes fine, an entrepreneur is able to come out of it and able to start a successful career again. So in all of the resolution process, I also see a light for entrepreneurs in this country, that if they have embarked on a journey and unfortunately they would have probably gone wrong or situation would have gone wrong, they still have an ability to come back, bounce back, and that I think is very, very important for all of us as a country as well. So I would like to thank WRC again. Thank you so much. Would like to keep it brief because I do believe that we have a great panel here, and I'm sure you will find more merit in their discussion. So thank you so much, Arpit and Manish and all the WRC team members, Preeti and Vimal. I give this back to you on your table to take the session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would just quickly take, I think, while we figure out the logistics for Manish Bhai and Preeti Madam, I would just complete the introduction of our superb panel today. Mr. Challa Sreenivasulu Setty, sir. So we welcome you, the Managing Director, Retail and Digital Banking. He has taken charge as Managing Director of State Bank of India with effect from 1st April, is also holding additional charge of stress assets vertical, and therefore is a very critical aspect today on this panel. A Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and also a Certified Associate of Indian Bankers. He started his career with State Bank of India as a probationary officer. Across a career spanning over 3 decades, he has gained rich experience in corporate credit, retail banking, and banking in developed markets. He was also heading the stress asset resolution group of the bank in his capacity as Deputy Managing Director, where he was responsible for resolving the stress assets portfolio of the bank in the most critical sectors of power, infra, auto, telecom, etc. He has held key assignments in State Bank of India, including Chief General Manager in Corporate Accounts, Group Deputy General Manager in Commercial Branch Indore, and VP and Head Syndications in SBI New York Branch. So we welcome you with a huge round of applause. Quickly going to the profile of our another esteemed panelist, Rajesh Sharma. Unfortunately, his profile is not opening up, so therefore I'm taking the liberty of reading his LinkedIn profile, which is a very, very impressive profile. Sharma ji is the member, Technical, National Company Law Tribunal, Mumbai Bench. He's been a Chief General Manager of National Highway Authority of India earlier, has been the CFO of HSIIDC, Government of Haryana, Director General of Services Export Promotion Council, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and then also he's done his DISA ICAI Information System NA. He comes from a very strong 30 years of experience in finance, term lending, and investment banking management, investment promotion, export promotion, taxation, industrial estate management, from not only from the companies that I've mentioned, but also foreign embassy, High Commission, missions in India, Indian mission abroad, representing in BIFR, AAFIR, ITAT, CESTAT, RBA, etc. A very tall personality. We welcome you, sir, with a huge round of applause in this gathering. I then quickly introduce Divya Murthy, madam. Divya Murthy, madam, she's from Reliance Industries Limited Group, Mumbai. She's an advocate, Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, 2005. She's done her BA LLB in the year 2002, National Law School of India University, Bangalore. She's the VP, Vice President Legal, heading corporate legal team and reporting to Group General Counsel. Has an extensive experience of working in partnership with and providing legal and strategic advice to management team at group level, business and commercial heads, and other internal stakeholders. She's got an analytical problem solver who focuses on overall picture and proactively formulates risk management strategies. Her areas of expertise are collaboration, mergers and acquisition, joint ventures, franchise agreements, infrastructure projects, technology licensing, business contracts across sectors including refining, marketing, petrochemical, retail, telecom, sports, media. So therefore, a hands-on personality coming from a very, very big stable called Reliance Industries, and at a group level strategist. We welcome you, madam, with a huge round of applause. Please join hands in welcoming all the three panelists with us. And of course, our own past president, C. Subodh Kumar Agrawal ji, who's joined us. He is someone who really doesn't need any introduction, but I will quickly introduce him. He's a practicing chartered accountant, insolvency professional from Calcutta, Kolkata rather, and then also Institute of Chartered Accountants of Australia. He's a qualified IP and procession registered with IBBI. He's got more than 29 years of experience in various audits, SEBI matter, corporate law matters, financial services, and insolvency. Has been an active chairman of EIRC earlier, president earlier in 2013, has then served on various committees of RBI, SEBI, MCA, CAG, NACAS, and Board of Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. And therefore an apt personality for today's moderation with these eminent personalities. Sir, I welcome you again with a huge round of applause in your own backyard at WIRC. It's an honor to have you all on the screen today. I request Subodh ji to please continue with the session ahead.
Thank you, Arpit, for so nice words for all the panelists. Though I did, as you rightly said, I did not need any introduction when you are in the family. Though Mr. Rajesh Sharma, Honorable Judge Rajesh Sharma, he is also the part of the family member only, being a chartered accountant. He is more by heart a chartered accountant than a judge. First he's a chartered accountant, then only he's a judge. Fine, thank you very much, and Preeti, Manish, Bimal, for organizing this wonderful program, and particularly when we have a wonderful panelist, including Honorable Judge Saab, our own judge, who is going to be the guest of honor. But side by side, we'll be requesting him to have his words of wisdom, and then also answer one or two questions which are very pertinent for the IPs, and also those chartered accountants and those professionals who are not IPs, because everybody agrees, and as Arpit rightly said, and also Anil also rightly said, there is huge professional opportunities in the guise of insolvency professionals. Already more than 3,000 professionals are there, and there is scope for more and more professionals. So I'll start that. Honorable Judge, our own Rajesh Sharma ji, learned panelist, Mr. Sreenivasulu and Madam Divya Murthy. I also welcome all of you in this session. I convey my thanks to office bearers of the AIRC, WIRC. This is my role as a moderator, is second year in consecutive. Last year also, probably they didn't find any other person, so they always fall back on me, and I also graciously accept this assignment as a moderator for the IBC. When particularly IBC is there, it is very close to my heart. So I am a chartered accountant, practicing chartered accountant, but since last 3-4 years, it has become so close to my heart that when any offer comes to speak, I think that, okay, I am going to increase my knowledge by way of interacting with so learned panelists and persons, those on the screen. Today, I will say that not on the dais, but on the screen. Friends, you all will agree that IBC is one of the most reformist piece of legislation that our country has seen so far. Why? It is very dynamic, This legislation is very dynamic. It's a crucial mechanism for triggering recovery to the Indian economy as well. How? See, our country's GDP depends on the performance of industry, and all collectively, only if the industry performs well, the GDP will also go up. So that's why where the assets which are blocked, which are not yielding any productivity. Now, by way of IBC mechanism, we will come to the data also. The industry which has the feasibility, viability, were brought back to the rail, and now started yielding the result. So it has started giving input and GDP, contributing to the GDP of the country. Friends, the re-injection of capital into viable but struggling enterprise is being done through the IBC mode. The law prevents capital being tied up endlessly in litigation through IBC and frees it to more productive purposes. How it is dynamic? It is dynamic in the sense that this code has been changed in last 4 years 6 times by amendment in the code. And if I look at CRP regulation, it has been changed 15 times. It shows the concern, the interest of the government of India to proactively look at this, and wherever found any difficulty in implementation, to get it changed with due process of the public opinion also. And that is the reason that CRP regulation itself in 4 years, so in an average in a year, it has changed more than around 4 times in a year. So all the bottlenecks has been tried to be done away with. Friends, if in recent newsletter, I was just going through the September newsletter of the IBBI, what it says that the life of the company is as precious as a human being. The life of the company is as precious as a human being. The reason being, since Reliance Industries representative is there, how many people they have employed? That means the company is giving house, it is giving the feed, it is giving the clothes and employing the gentleman. So the company is not lesser precious than a human being, and RP has been compared as the caretaker of the building. Now, if we talk about what has been the take home in last 4 years from IBC, if I look at about 83% of the cases with a realization value of 5 lakh crore were resolved without going through the process. That means without going through the CRP process, about 5 lakh crore of asset has been resolved. That means it has not even gone to the entire process, where Honorable Judge Saab's interference was not required. Before it was admitted, it got resolved. Now, if I look at under Section 12, more than 291 companies, 12A, we call it withdrawal of the application. More than 219 cases were withdrawn. What does it show? Fiscal discipline. I, as a chartered accountant, can vouch it that it has brought a great era of fiscal discipline among the corporates, because now it is applicable only for the corporates, not for the individual. Yes, to some extent, to a smaller extent, for the personal guarantor to the corporate debtor, it has been made applicable. If I look at Global Innovation Index 2020, the improvement in India's rank in ease of resolving insolvency has come down from 95 last year to 47. I mean, more than around 50% jump. Then everybody knows who are attached with the insolvency, the name of Honorable Justice R.F. Nariman, and the famous case of landmark judgment in case of Swiss Re-1. I mean, in Swiss Re-1 case, Honorable Justice used the word, the defaulter's paradise is lost. The defaulter's paradise is lost, and the economy's rightful position has been regained. So that is what even these judges sitting on the highest position, they are visualizing. Now, if I look at the challenges under the IBC, now since Rajesh Sharma ji, Honorable Judge, is sitting there, NCLT is burdened with other acts also in addition to IBC. Now, like Competition Act, like Companies Act. Nowadays, I find that in the list of daily cause list, more than 300 cases are for section 252, 232. So they have to address those issues also. So there are 27 benches of NCLT with 2 members, judicial member and technical members. But during COVID, we find that many judges has retired. Many benches are not working or partly working. Probably the cases are piling up. Those has to be addressed. If I look at, there are 1942 CRP cases are continuing as of 30th September 2020. I find that more than 1,442, that is 74 cases, had surpassed the limit of 270 days. That means the preamble of the code, which was speedy resolution and maximization of value of the asset. So are we able to address the speedy resolution? Probably Honorable Judge is sitting there. So he, as per his convenience, and if he feel fit, will request to address these issues, sir. Now, if I look at the recent data on IBC, the approval of the resolution plan is 277, whereas liquidation is 1025. If I add both, the resolution plan is 22%, the liquidation is 78%. But the positive aspect is the resolution, in case of the resolution plan containing 277 cases, the total liquidation value was 1.02 lakh crore, but the realization was around 1.97 lakh crore. So the realization has been more than liquidation value. Liquidation, if we talk about the liquidation value 1025, but the liquidation value was only 0.42 lakh crore. What does it suppose? Does it mean that the companies which went into liquidation were terminally ill because this code was introduced for the first time? So maybe in days to come, probably that kind of liquidation we may not be able to see. But if I look at from the positive side, out of the 12 dirty dozen that we call very popularly dirty dozen, 12 large cases, 9 cases got resolved, 2 cases ordered for liquidation, 1 case is still under CIRP process. So what does it mean? That larger cases, the chances of resolution is much more than the smaller cases? Yes. So I'll reserve my comment because panelists are there. I'll be asking these questions to the panelists. Now, if I look at the economy of the country is on pace to recover. We all know the green shoots of the growth are visible. Section 10A, that is extension of the filing of application, bar on the extension for filing the application has further been extended. So what will be the panelist view? I will be coming to all of you. And then the report has been submitted on group insolvency, on pre-pack insolvency, and also there are issues for cross-border insolvency. These are the 3 issues which are any framework is it to come. We'll be asking that also. So friends, now we have Honorable Judge Sri C.A. Rajesh Sharma ji. What I will request the audience, since Judge Sahab is there, please don't pose any question which are contentious, which is under sub judice. And I'll also request Honorable Judge that if by mistake any question comes which he feel should not be answered, please tell us, we'll immediately withdraw that question. Also again, time is limited. It is already 7:30. We were given 75 minutes time. So if I look at already 45 minutes has gone, I don't know how much time further the organizer will be giving us. But then we'll be, please take as minimum time as possible. Yes.
So sir, we have enough time. May I request you to please take questions to the moderator, to the panelists, please?
Okay. So now may I request first, what we'll be doing, we have structured, we'll be asking the Honorable Judge Sahab to speak for 5 minutes, then we'll start taking questions. So over to Honorable Rajesh Sharma ji.
Thank you very much, Mr. Subodh Kumar Agrawal. Am I audible?
Sir, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal ji, past president of ICAI. As a matter of fact, when any subject is close to your heart, you forget timelines, you forget whether these are opening remarks or these are concluding remarks or so. And Mr. Subodh Agrawal has almost covered everything in this IBC. Nothing much is left for other panelists to speak about it. Okay. He has covered everything in the opening remarks itself. So I must compliment Mr. Subodh Agrawal for his opening remarks. Dear co-panelists of today's session, earlier we used to address it as a sitting on the dais, but there is no dais these days because of the COVID-19 and virtual hearing. So all are on the screen. My co-panelists on the screen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen attending this virtual conference. A very warm welcome and a very good evening to all of you. As adjudicating authority, I am confronted with IBC matters almost on a daily basis. IBC 2016 is a comparatively very young legislation in India. I normally call it as I normally say that it is still in its childhood. Living with it, I am reminded of the famous quote of Charles Darwin. Quote, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change," unquote. And I must compliment the authorities connected with IBC 2016 that it can be termed as the most dynamic law of the country, which has seen so many amendments within a span of 4 years. Mr. Subodh Agrawal has just counted it that there are 4 amendments and 15 or 16 amendments in the CRP regulations and other regulations. It is live to this situation and the authorities are proactively acting as per the requirement of the time. Realizing the need of the hour due to COVID-19 pandemic, raising of threshold limit from 1 lakh rupees 1 lakh to rupees 1 crore and declaration of moratorium and recently 3 days back announcement of extension thereof till March 2021 are a few such examples of adaptability with change. With these remarks, I would request Mr. Subodh Kumar Agrawal, past president of ICAI and the moderator of this panel, panel discussion on insolvency and bankruptcy, to continue with the proceedings. I take the liberty of intervening as and when I feel it necessary that my intervention will be for the benefit of the audience. Thank you very much. Over to Shri Subodh.
Thank you, sir, for your opening remark. Opening 5-minute comments. But then I would like to start my question first with you because you are the right person to respond to that question, being a judicial person and encountering these issues on a daily basis. There has been increase in the threshold limit from 1 lakhs to 1 crore. Even though the Insolvency Law Committee has recommended to make it to 50 lakhs. There is a huge hue and cry that MSME suppliers are hugely impacted. How do you look at, how do you justify?
Yes, I'll take a minute in coming to your question. Before that, you see, in your opening remarks also, you mentioned a lot of statistics about number of days taken in insolvency resolution, number of days taken by the court, and all that. You can well understand that last 9 months or so, from March till now, it is almost no work in the courts. And as far as NCLT is concerned, I'm happy to share that NCLT did not stop working even for a single day. Initially, a special bench was created for 232 matters, then 252 matters, and from 1st of August, all the benches are working through virtual mode. From the start of lockdown, that is of 25th March 2020 till 31st July, NCLT got about 800 new applications, and the disposal of cases by NCLT during the lockdown period even was 2,500 cases. Fresh cases filed are 800, disposal 2,500 cases. You can well understand that the dedication level of the bench members of NCLT. There are 5-6 members who got into COVID situation, and all they contracted corona. Still, they kept on working, and I am one of the example of that. I myself contracted COVID-19, and my partner bench member, of course, it is all virtual hearing and all that. Nobody was in physical contact or nobody was in touch with anybody. She didn't know about my contracted COVID for 10 days. Later on, I told her. So the point which I was referring is that we are well aware about our responsibilities towards the legislature, towards the business, towards the economy, and we are taking all effective steps to basically service that. Now, as far as your question is concerned, from raising of limit from 1 lakh to 1 crore, whether it has impacted negatively to tiny, small, and medium industries. Yes, it is like two sides of the coin. One side is head, one side is tail. If you look at it from the angle of a creditor, yes, certainly it has impacted. But if you look at it from the angle of corporate debtor, because corporate debtor is also not an alien. Corporate debtor is also from among small, medium, and tiny industries. They are in the corporate sector. That is why they can be brought into corporate CIRP process. So it is basically acting in a balancing manner. Rather, the number of cases which can be brought to CIRP is going to be reduced because of the enhancement of the limits. But there are few factual things that any default which is pre-March, pre-25th March, even if 1 lakh, and the case is being filed now, nobody is denying even that case. Only 25th March onwards, any default between 1 lakh to 1 crore will not be eligible for filing any application for under section 7 or 9. You will well understand that the default which has occurred from April till September, October, or November, or till December also. You know, nobody does it like this, that today there is a default and tomorrow there is a application which is filed under section 7 or 9 in the company, in the IBC. People try to negotiate with the corporate debtor and try to find out some solution. installment payment and all that. And I totally support this decision of the government of raising the limit from 1 lakh to 1 crore, particularly due to this lockdown and COVID pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving a very nice perspective that we only did not look at from the perspective of the creditors, but also from the perspective of the debtors. MSME are equally debtors also. Now I'll move to the largest bank MD, Mr. Setty. Mr. Setty, thank you for joining us. We have many questions to you, but we have a time constraint. So what I'll request the panelists, if they can give the answer in a quick succession, we'll have more questions. Otherwise, we will be limited. The first question to Mr. Setty is ease of doing business in India. In ranking, we have gone northward because of implementation of IBC. Do you think it will facilitate the increased confidence of the investors in India and ultimately contribute in achieving the dream of the Honorable Prime Minister, the 5 trillion economy by 2024, or due to COVID, it can be extended by say 2025. Over to Mr. Setty.
Thank you, Subodh ji. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, WIRC, for having me on this panel. Coming to the, the improved ranking and ease of doing business. The ease of doing business has 3 components. I think all of you, who are on this session know that ease of entry, ease of running a business, and ease of exit. And the missing piece so far in the whole gamut of things is ease of exit. So it was a long-standing demand both by the domestic creditors and also the institutional investors in India as well as abroad, that the legal process of providing an exit to the promoters and also the investors in the company, and more importantly, the creditors in case of default, was a long-standing demand. I think that has been achieved by introduction of this very important piece of legislation. I think you all have mentioned on that. That has resulted in the improvement in the ease of doing business ranking. But more importantly, if you see, we have gone through various legislations for recovery. Most significant one was what is called SARFAESI Act, where we all bankers were elated when this SARFAESI Act had come, that it would be the creditors who will be, in control, and they would be able to position to recover pretty fast. And similarly, the DRTs also had given certain hope, but we all have seen that they did not serve the purpose or to the extent what everybody in the system expected. But pleasantly, the implementation, the development of ecosystem, more importantly, now I see Mr. Sharma being here, the phenomenal job done by the tribunals. There's always an element of, we want more, we want quick resolutions. But how do you expect a legislation which is just about 3 to 3.5 years old, and everyone, new to the system, and the readjustment of the whole ecosystem? And I must compliment the people, the benches, the judges who are on the tribunals for the phenomenal work which they have done. So to that extent, I personally believe that the insolvency law, among all the financial legislations, have tremendously improved in terms of what we can achieve, the dream of 5 trillion economy going forward. I'm sure, Subodh, I'm very confident that this will provide an important piece which was missing earlier, and with the demographic benefits which the country offers and the consumption gap which the country has, there are a lot of foreign investors who are interested in investing here, and this IBC is going to tell them that we have a world-class legislation which facilitates entry and exit in a seamless manner. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Mr. Setty, I agree with you. But then, as we said, that 2-lane road has been expanded to 4-lane. But probably we need 6-lane or 8-lane because expectation is increasing with the introduction and the way the government has modified the CRP regulation and act also. I'll quickly come back to you with another questions. But then, Madam Murthy is there, Divya, who has also agreed to join us with a very short notice. Thank you, Divya. So, my quick question to you, but I would like the answer in 2 minutes only because Mr. Setty has some other commitment and he would like to kind of by 8. I will request if he can extend it by further 10 minutes. Divya, the section 10A has further been extended. There has been a news report that Mr. MS Sahu also said it will bring, probably it will be maybe counterproductive and may bring more and more insolvency cases. So how do you look at?
So thanks, Subodh, for having me on this panel. I'm honored to be here with Rajesh and Mr. Sreenivasulu on this panel. So regarding this extension of time, I think considering the economic condition and considering the problems that businesses are facing, and one thing is to look at it from a creditor perspective. As Rajesh rightly pointed out some time back, you have to look at it also from the corporate debtor perspective. There are a lot of MSMEs, there are a lot of companies which don't have the ability to be able to, in this period of time, actually address these issues on debt, etc. And you would actually, all the extension is done is it is given them breathing space, so to speak. What the government is looking to do is the government basically has to do a balance between the requirements of the creditors and at the same time look at MSMEs, look at companies and their ability to repay debt at this time. And in that balance, I think this period is required for companies to have that leeway of maybe a couple more months before you start initiating process.
No, I'll interrupt you. This section 10A is an immunity. What I could understand that whatever cases fall due within this period, they are immune. Nowhere the IBC can use for the lifetime. So that is the only issue that we have. So the creditor will have to enforce some other mechanism, not the IBC.
Sure. The thing there is that you still have post the moratorium of sorts that has been provided by this extension. Even after that, if a corporate debtor continues to default or not pay, at that time you can initiate action. Also, it is more likely than not than a corporate debtor who's not paid debt pre the March 25th timeline can still be taken to the IBC. And you also have other mechanics. Of course, I guess we should just move to the next question. I think Sreenivasulu is also getting late. So.
No, it's okay. I think let's not be mindful of that. Please express your views. I'll hang on for some more time, as Subodh has said. Okay, please go ahead.
So now again coming back to SBI. I mean, Mr. Setty. Mr. Setty, a very pointing question to you. I mean, you may not like it also, but I'll be very happy if you don't like this question. There is a talk of the town. I being RP also. It's not my view, it's a general view that COC members does not come fully prepared. They look at it as a recovery mechanism many a times. Since they are the bosses, and it has been judges the decision of the courts also that they are not sitting there in a fiduciary position that is in your favor. There has been a circular of the IBBI of 10th August 2018 that the bank should depute only the person who are competent. The word used is competent and authorized. But then whenever we go, they will say that you circulate us the agenda. What is the fun of circulating the agenda? They want minutes, and after minutes they will send it to the appropriate authority. I mean, when the agenda is circulated, why don't they come fully prepared? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I agree with you, Subodh. I think it's very unfortunate that the banks don't come prepared, because I think most of the people think that these resolutions or the meetings under COC are similar to joint lenders meeting, where they had the luxury of debating ad nauseum and then going back and taking the approvals of the appropriate so-called appropriate authority, and also come back and say that we don't have mandate. So this was raised several times by us wherever we are the lead bank. But a couple of things what I would like to quickly give an insight is that most of the bank today, particularly public sector banks, work on the committee basis because they all move to the committee approach, which is a good thing. You know, committee decisions are collective decisions. They all are protected from all these investigations. But what we have done in SBI, for instance, is that you can't completely dissolve the committee decisions for the ultimate decision of approving a plan. But there are quite a few decisions which can be delegated down the line. So we have currently, for instance, we have said that even the lowest, the assistant general manager is a senior official of the bank. He should be the lowest officer who can attend the COC. Nobody less than an AGM can attend, number one. Number two, we have completely delegated based on the decisions which are to be taken under the committee of creditors, whether it is a 50% voting is required or 60%. So all such decisions are graded and the powers are currently delegated to the individuals. The only power which goes to the committee is the ultimate approval of the resolution plan. Obviously, you know, the resolution plan generally is given enough time for approval. So this is, we have, through the Indian Bank Association, also had requested all the banks that you put this delegated power and a simple resolution of paying a fee to the resolution professional or paying an advocate fee. You cannot say that I'll come back and give the approval. I think these are some of the things which we need to fine tune. The larger decision of, you know, the resolution plan, of course, will go to the credit committees. But I fully agree with you that there's a lot of professionalism which needed to be adopted by the bankers when they attend the committee of creditors. I fully agree with you, and I think it's a work in process. A lot of improvement is there from the days which we have seen. Today, what happens, you know, unfortunately, the larger cases get attention of the bankers. It is only in the medium, smaller cases they take longer time, ironically. So this is something which we are constantly working on improving the positions.
Yeah, before I go to Divya, only I request that whatever you said, please keep on. Yeah, a lot of improvement has been done, but still a lot more to be done. Divya, quickly, but in your answer, I want only 2 or 3 minutes because a lot of questions are there, and then I will be looking for the input from Sharma ji also. You were the resolution applicant, successful resolution applicant, and so far I know only 2 cases, Alok Industries and Reliance Infratel, which has been approved by the NCLT. What has been your challenges? I'll only ask for the challenges, not the good things.
So I think
over to Divya.
The key challenge that most resolution applicants face, I think, is the timeline. While the law mandates this whole 270 days plus extension, which comes to 330 days, etc., I don't think that is ever, in majority of cases, this does not really fructify in practice, because this time period does not take into account any litigation or proceedings that are initiated by dissenting stakeholders. So just as an example, I think in one of our cases, we submitted our resolution plan way back, more than a year and a half back. And then you had a committee of creditors which approved with the requisite threshold a plan. And then you had dissenting creditors, secured creditors going to the NCLT, and that took some time. Then you had dissenting operational creditors who go to the NCLT. Now, what is the sense in having a committee of creditors which approves a plan, which certifies that it meets the IBC requirements? The NCLT is close to approving it, and then you have multiple litigation processes going forward, which delay the whole process. And what happens in that interim is that the company, the corporate debtor itself, does not have funds. The assets are getting wasted. Human resources are leaving the company. So by the time the resolution applicant gets the asset through this process, the resolution plan may be difficult to implement. So reviving that company or getting it back to a going concern nature would be very tough. So I think that is the key issue or challenge we have been facing through this process. But I think that said, there is, I think the government plus the IBBI, all of them are working towards finding solutions. So the pre-pack insolvency, all of those are good mechanics to try to resolve these kind of things.
Yeah, thank you, Divya, for giving a very good message to our audience. delegates that it has been a successful. You are very satisfied with the resolution as a resolution applicant. The only concern you have got the timeline, but you know initially the timeline it takes a huge timeline. The insolvency case of the SR Steel took around 800 days, but then it resolved many issues. I mean, SR Steel cases now it has cleared so many issues that it is now Pune Expressway for Mumbaiites that they can travel. So many issues we give reference to the SR Steel or Swiss Ribbon. So over 4-year period, so Sharmaji said that we are still in nascent stage. Yes, we are still in nascent stage, but in nascent also we have become very much stronger. That I feel. That's why when Section 10A was introduced, we all are looking at IBC, not for other mechanism. Why IBC? Because it is much more satisfying. Now, sir, coming back to Mr. Setty again. Mr. Setty, I will not let you go with until my whole questions are over. Now, coming to the why we were all scared that the 10A should be introduced. Probably the biggest reason, probably Sharmaji will also agree with me, that we will not find the taker. Because when the pandemic is there, market is in distress mode. So if you bring the resolution plan, nobody will come forward. So what we feel that in India still, the distressed asset market is not developed to the way it should have been developed, even after 4 years of the IBC. What are your views? How it can be developed, or whether it has been developed to what extent? So over to Mr. Setty, please.
Yeah, Subodhji, one issue which comes to my mind in terms of resolution of distressed asset or market for distressed asset is that we never had a secondary market for loans in India. See, even in the Western countries or developed markets, the resolution doesn't happen largely through insolvency. I mean, it's a last resort, right? So what people have the ability as a creditor, I'm looking from the creditor point of view, is that if I have a loan which is not performing, there are specialist companies which buy these distressed loan assets in the secondary market and have the ability to turn them around without even taking it to the insolvency. In the worst case scenario, even those distressed funds also may take these companies to the insolvency. But in the absence of a strong secondary market in India, we have been only doing what is called restructuring, right? You give a long rope to the corporate debtor, and the legal process through the DRT and SARFAESI was not very effective. So when insolvency regime had come, unfortunately, the backlog cases, nobody had the patience to go for resolution. So that is where most of the cases have translated into a recovery process. As I think you mentioned in your opening remarks also, that every lender, every creditor wants his money quickly. The corporate debtor resolution and the survival of corporate debtor as an ongoing concern, or going concern, seems to be a secondary aspect. So when it comes to the recovery, then what happens? People want upfront cash. I said, how will anybody pay upfront cash every time you ask for it? So today we have very limited number of players who can actually buy the large assets. That is the reason, if you see, even some of the cases which can be resolved and turned around, if the capital is provided by the banks in India or other lenders, other investors, they're all either ending up in liquidation or suboptimal resolution. So the depth in the market is not there because the domestic market or domestic lenders are not supporting enough in acquisition of the distressed asset. When it comes to the foreign funds or foreign investors, I keep telling them that if you have an IRR expectations of 25 to 30%, you're actually asking the lenders to take a very strong and deep haircuts. In which case, many of the banks and many of the lenders find it difficult to approve those plans. So I think there is a requirement of attracting the capital, both in domestic market as well as foreign institutional investors, and more importantly, the moderation of return expectations. At least those companies which have the viability of turning around. I think these are some of the points which I would definitely state that why the distressed loan market is not developing enough. So fortunately, RBI has constituted a committee which has recommended a wide-reaching secondary market, recommendations. and it is very seriously being worked out. I hope by 2021, middle of 2021 financial year, we will have some starting point in the secondary market for loans, which would increase the depth in the interest in distressed loan markets.
Great. Probably there is no income tax benefit also, because I was just working on one of the plan where I found that suppose it's a 1500 crore rupees loan is there, and the value is coming around 300 or 400 crore, and then in income tax, if the RA has to write back the loan amount, then he has to pay tax on that. If he has not sufficient MAT, he will fall under the MAT also. So probably that is also a disincentive that adds on the, unless and until you make some planning, I mean tax planning, that's also what we say, ingenious tax planning. So that is to be done. So maybe probably, as you rightly said, that when RBI will come out with the report, something ray of hope will be there, and it has to come up to make it more successful. And what we find that, as I said initially also, only the larger cases where we find that if you go to set up today, it is not possible. SR still, which was not settled, which was not being settled at 23,000 crore, got settled at 50,000 crore only because of his uniqueness. Quickly coming to Divya. Divya, impact of IBC in economic growth of India. Quickly.
I think if you look at just the World Bank's ranking of India in resolving insolvency, it's gone up from 108. It's come down to 52 right now, which is very telling in terms of how, when IBC came about, at that point in time, stressed assets were a big concern, both for the lenders and from a business point of view also. You had legislations like SURFACE, Debt Recovery Act, etc., etc. All of these only looked at recovery of debt from a lender perspective. What they did not look at was resolution of the company or resolution of the stressed asset from the corporate debtor perspective, to ensure that there is, if there is an intrinsic value in the company, then that value is preserved, assets are preserved, employees don't lose jobs. So you had all of those benefits that the IBC provides, because it is looking at, it's not just focusing on maximization of value in terms of returns to creditors, but it's looking at maximization of value and continuation of the company as a going concern. And that is a significant change in the legislative framework within India. And while there is a lot of naysayers who say that, look at the number of cases that have gone to liquidation, I think those entities would have anyways gone to liquidation. They did not have intrinsic value. But wherever there is intrinsic value in the entity, and if you look at the percentage, like you rightly mentioned, the big cases where there's real huge amounts of debt, a majority of those have been resolved. Now, all of this will go, and with also the IBPI government, all of them taking efforts to work towards improving the legislation. As and when a new issue comes up, which is addressed by the NCLT very often, very ably, the government also looks at it, the IBPI looks at it and comes back with more resolution. And that's how you have all these amendments. It's a nascent law, it will take time, there is a gestation period, but it will definitely result in economic growth and development and the trillion-dollar economy we have been talking about.
Thank you, Divya. Setty,
Yes.
Very important questions. We are talking about the preamble. If I look at the preamble of the IBC, which talks about timelines, speedy mechanism, and number two, increasing the value of the corporate debtors. But if I look at the most of the judgment of the NCLT and NCLT, they more emphasize on the increasing the value of the corporate debtor. But then in that process, the timeline is gone. To address those issues, recently the report has been submitted by MS Sahu committee on pre-pack, whereby the timeline has been, we suppose the timeline will be drastically reduced to maybe less than 90 days, because after some homework, it will be given only to the Honorable NCLT to give its approval if it is found that it's all not, there is no fraudulent, etc. So the timeline has been tried to be reduced. And where, how you look at, can it be made to MSME? Initially, MSME corporate data, and the Swiss Challenger method proposed is whether feasible. So over to Setty.
So I think the pre-packs are very common across the globe. Pre-packs would not have worked initially with 29A being there, because see, we have had a large number of legacy assets, and many of the existing promoters would not have been eligible for any resolution plan being given by them. So the pre-pack in such situation probably would not have worked. But I think now that we have largely addressed the legacy issues, and any fresh default where certain resolution is required to be implemented, preferably in a legal manner. See, today we have RBI framework which permits us to come, all the lenders coming together and entering into intercreditor agreement and resolving it without even taking to the IBC process. But unfortunately, because the way the loans are structured in India, multiple lenders, multiple debt structures, multiple security structures complicate the process of outside legal resolution. That is what we found, that the ICA mechanism was not very successful because of this, the conflicting interests of the creditors. So pre-pack actually has best of the both worlds. That means, you can work a resolution plan which is acceptable to the large number of lenders, number one. Number two, you have the corporate debtor, the current management on board, work out a plan which is taken to the legal process and get a legal stamping done, so that it would be, most of the pre-packs have a cramming down conditions. It is, once the majority approves, all others have to follow, and a lot of legal benefits and protections which are available in the IBC process, they also will be available for pre-packs. So, but one thing what we need to be very mindful of is that the pre-pack also has a downside of not having a transparent mechanism to find out alternative to the plan which is approved under the pre-pack. Today, when we have a process where you are calling for the expression of interest, you have a bidding process, there is a matrix of evaluation, they all will be missing. So it would be, sort of a kind of a call which we have to take in each case, which is the most beneficial resolution process for a corporate debtor. And if say suppose around 70-75% of lenders are agreeable, and it is taking care of the interests of all the stakeholders, I think pre-pack regime would accelerate the whole process, and also it would put less strain on the tribunals. Today, the tribunals, as you said, they are also interested in getting the best deal for all the stakeholders. And most of the time, the value gets eroded because it gets into litigation. So that part can be addressed to a large extent in the pre-pack. And I'm a great voter for pre-packs. Hopefully, we'll be able to see that coming to realization faster.
As I said, the Swiss challenger method that is proposed.
Yeah. So Swiss challenge is to see the Swiss challenge, of course, can be one way of finding an alternative plan to the plan which is already approved under the pre-pack. The challenge for Swiss challenge, just to use the words, challenge for the Swiss challenges, is that people think that the incumbent will always be able to match the revised plan and he will walk away. See, the Swiss challenge, as you all know, the plan which is approved by the lenders, the promoters can always match the new plan which is submitted by anybody who is challenging. So a lot of people don't show interest in participating in the Swiss challenge method. They're all willing to participate in an open auction where the highest bidder will walk away with a successful resolution plan. But I still feel a pre-pack with a Swiss challenge thrown in is the best way forward, despite whatever handicaps it comes with.
Yeah, Sharma sahab, I'll come to you. Not a contentious issue, not a matter which is.
Subodh, if you permit me, I request that I should be permitted to leave.
Yeah, no, we are thankful to you. Priti, if you can only say a few words for.
I would have loved to listen to Mr. Sharma, but unfortunately, I have to rush.
Sir, last 5 minutes only, sir. If possible, you can continue.
Okay.
Right.
5 minutes.
If not anything, I would like to hear the Hon'ble tribunal member.
5 minutes.
I would like.
Last question to
Okay.
over to Sharma ji. Sharma sir,
Yes.
the life of the corporate debtor, which used to be 70 to 80 years, has come down to now in insolvency regime to 17 to 18, 17 to 18 years. How do you take it for the ease of doing business and economy of the country? Not related with judicial proceedings.
You see, as of today, the farmers' issue is, live. Everybody is concerned with the farmer agitation and all that. Picking up something from farmers' side. Have you seen a farmer, inspecting his crops? Whenever he looks anything which is grown and which can harm the crop, they weed it out. They remove it. And finally, the good crop only survives. Others are removed by the farmer. Taking an example from that, you see, wherever the corporate is not able to survive because of various reasons, it is always better to revalue that through a resolution process by which an asset which is in books about 1,000 crore and its real value is maybe 20 crore, maybe 100 crore or something like that. So let us recast our balance sheet. Let us put lower burden on the asset, and let us see if the resolution is possible and the company can survive with the reset of all financial figures. Okay. When you are saying about 70, 80 years, that's right. Out of 70, 80 years, 25 years were dedicated to BAFR, AIFR, and so on. Okay. You must have seen, you are in the business, and most of people who are on the panel as well as the audience, that in BAFR and AIFR regime, once your company is registered in BAFR, a child is born, and when he is getting married, the company is taking some decision from BAFR or AIFR put together. It used to happen. So if the in other terms, you say that life of corporate has come down from 70 years to 17 or 18 years. Let everybody play his or her role, or that way the company its role, and let it be in somebody else's hands where it can give fruits to the economy rather than becoming a burden to the economy. So I don't find any harm if the corporate life has reduced from 70 years or to 25 years or so. Only survival of the fittest. No? If you are fit, you will be surviving. If you are not fit, then somebody else will take it over and will work on the reset figures in the balance sheet.
Very nicely elaborated. I fully concur with you that if the crop is not working, it has to be weeded out. Now with this, may I hand over to the organizers?
Yes. Thank you, Subodh ji. I can say it was an excellent session, value addition session, and very open discussion which has happened. Mr. Setty, and he's also very openly discussed lot of matters and given a thought which can be taken up by other panelists also and the government also, and quick solutions. Now 70 years to 17 years and now 17 days, we are looking for. Everything is becoming so quick, and with that the ranking has now from 108 to 50s, and now it may come in 20s also. And I can say it was very well moderated session, and all the panelists were so excellent. And I request Vimal Agrawal, please, RCM, to propose a very worthy vote of thanks to all the panelists and moderator.
Thank you, Preeti madam. I am audible?
Yes.
Preeti madam, I am audible. On behalf of WIRC, I would like to thank our today panelist, past President of ICAI, CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal, Setty Sir, Managing Director, State Bank of India, CA Rajesh Sharma, Member Technical NCLT, Miss Divya Murthy, CA Anil Bandari, Central Council Member ICAI. It was indeed a precious and privileged moment for us having your presence in spite of your busy schedule. Our heartfelt thanks for sparing your valuable time for the interaction. Your valuable inputs and suggestions during the event would be of utmost benefit for working for all the insolvency professionals at large. Hope this interaction will definitely bear fruits and clear concept of insolvency and bankruptcy code. Before this panel discussion, there was a lot of ambiguity in members' mind, but after today's healthy discussion, it surely enhanced our understanding of practical aspect of IBC code. I wish to thank you all once again for sparing your valuable time for the event. Further looking forward for your continuous and enthusiastic support towards WIRC in all its future endeavors. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.